I never wanted to come back to Leeds Hollow, but when my uncle went missing, I had no choice. The last living Leeds relative besides me, Uncle Roy, had always been a paranoid recluse. I hadn't seen him in years, and when I did, it was brief. Cryptic warnings, rambling about the Hollow and how I was the last one left. Now his old house sat at the end of a long, cracked dirt road, rotting in the middle of the Pine Barrens, a place I swore I'd never return to. And yet, here I was. The front porch sagged under my weight as I climbed the steps. The house smelled like mildew and old wood, the kind of scent that clings to places that haven't been lived in for a long time. But Uncle Roy had been living here. His truck was still out front, coated in a layer of dirt and pine needles. The door was unlocked, swinging open slightly as if inviting me in. I hesitated. Something felt wrong. I stepped inside. The walls were covered in carvings, symbols, old runes I didn't recognize. Some had been scratched out, as if someone had tried to erase them but failed. "Uncle Roy?" I called out. Silence. Dust particles floated in the dim light filtering through the windows. His study was a mess, papers strewn across the desk, books open to pages filled with frantic scribbles. And then I saw the journal. My name was written on the cover. I opened it with shaking hands. The first few pages were normal, detailing repairs on the house, rants about the locals not respecting the Hollow. Then the entries changed. They became desperate. I hear them at night. The trees whisper her name. Clara. It's choosing her. I tried to run. You can't run. The Leeds blood pulls you back. If she doesn't take my place, God help us all. My breath came faster. This was insane. He was losing it. The last entry. They found me. I can hear them outside. It won't be long now. Clara, if you're reading this, I'm sorry. You have to take my place. A gust of wind slammed against the house, rattling the windows. And then, from somewhere outside, I heard something move. Something big. A shadow passed by the window. I froze. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. I grabbed my phone. No service. Of course not. Out here in the middle of nowhere, I was completely alone. Then, the scratching started. Soft at first. Fingernails? Claws. Scraping against the wooden walls. A slow, deliberate sound. I took a shaky step back. My instincts screamed at me to lock the doors, hide, to do anything. But instead, I looked out the window and saw two glowing red eyes staring back at me. I stumbled backward. My breath hitched. My mind screamed to run, but my legs wouldn't move because the thing outside, it wasn't attacking. It was waiting for me. It just stood there, half hidden by the tree line, its red eyes burning in the dark. I should have run, should have grabbed my keys and peeled out of there, but my legs felt rooted to the floor. A deep, sick feeling curled in my stomach, like my body already knew there was no leaving. I gripped my Uncle Roy's journal, flipping frantically through the pages. There had to be something, anything that explained what was outside that window. Then, I found the passage. The Leeds blood is cursed. We were never meant to be normal. Not since Deborah. Not since the Hollow took her. If you see its eyes, it means the Hollow has chosen you. And if the Hollow has chosen you, it's already inside you. A sharp pain shot through my skull. I gasped, gripping my temples. Flashes of something I shouldn't remember. A woman screaming in the woods, her body twisting, breaking, her fingers stretching into claws. The image snapped away. I was panting, sweating. And the thing outside, it was smiling. I grabbed the fireplace poker, gripping it tight as I inched toward the door. I didn't want to open it, but something in my bones did. The deeper I breathed, the heavier I felt. My skin was too tight, like it wasn't made for me. My teeth ached. I had to know. Hands shaking, I unlocked the door and swung it open. The woods were silent. No wind, no insects. Just the clicking sound, deep and rhythmic. It took me a second to realize. It was breathing. Then, from the darkness, a voice rasped. "You came back." My blood turned to ice, because I recognized that voice. "Uncle Roy?" I whispered. The shape in the woods lurched forward. A tall, twisting thing stepped into the dim porch light. It was him, or what was left of him. His body was warped, arms too long, skin stretched over sharp, unnatural angles. His mouth was filled with too many teeth, and his eyes? Oh God, they were red, he croaked. His voice sounded half-human, like something was pulling it apart. I staggered back. What happened to you? His face twisted, something struggling beneath the skin. I tried to stop it. Thought if I left, if I ran. But you can't run from your own blood. He took another step forward, his movements jerky, like he wasn't fully in control. They told me you were next. Told me you'd hear them too. My pulse pounded. Who told you? His breathing hitched. He looked past me toward the hollow. The trees. A violent spasm rocked through his body. A horrible crack echoed through the night as his spine bent the wrong way. Roy! I lunged forward, grabbing his arm. His skin was burning hot. His fingers dug into my wrists, his face contorted in agony. Then he whispered, Run. And something ripped him into the trees. I screamed. I didn't even think. I just ran, bolting into the woods after him. My flashlight beam bounced wildly through the trees. The darkness swallowed him whole. Uncle Roy! My voice felt small out here. Silence. And then, something laughed. Not Uncle Roy. Not human. Something else. The trees shifted around me, their gnarled branches moving like fingers. The ground felt softer. Too soft. Like I was walking on something alive. I gasped, stepping back. My foot sank into the dirt with a wet squelch. I looked down. The earth was pulsing. My stomach lurched. I stumbled away, but the ground felt wrong, like the hollow itself was trying to pull me in. And then, I heard it. A second pair of footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Something was right behind me. I turned just in time to see two massive wings unfurl in the darkness. Something ancient rose from the trees, and as it did, I felt it deep in my bones. The thing inside me. The curse waking up. I couldn't breathe. The thing rising from the trees was massive, a hulking shadow with leathery wings that stretched out so far they seemed to swallow the moonlight. Its horned head tilted as if studying me, red eyes gleaming with something unnervingly familiar. I knew what I was looking at. The Jersey Devil. But the worst part? It was looking at me like it recognized me too. And deep in my bones, I could feel something waking up. I stumbled backward, my breath coming in short, sharp gasps. My whole body felt wrong, my skin too tight, my nails aching as if something underneath was trying to push through. The Leeds blood is cursed. I gritted my teeth. No, I wasn't like Roy. I wasn't like that thing. Then the Jersey Devil moved, not lunging, not attacking. It just lowered its head, like it was waiting. A gust of wind ripped through the trees, and the ground beneath me seemed to pulse, like something deep below was shifting. I could feel it in my bones. Something under Leeds Hollow was waking up. And for some reason, the Jersey Devil didn't feel like the real threat anymore. A deep groaning sound echoed through the forest, and the ground split open. Something rose from the dirt. At first, I thought it was tree roots, but then I saw the faces, stretched, screaming, pressed into the gnarled, pulsing mass that clawed its way out of the hollow. It wasn't a creature. It was many. Hundreds of bodies fused together, writhing, whispering in voices I didn't recognize. Some of them had horns, some had claws, but they were all human ones. And then, as one, they spoke. She does not belong to you. My stomach dropped. They weren't talking to me. They were talking to the Jersey Devil. The Jersey Devil let out a low, rattling snarl, stepping between me and the thing rising from the hollow. I didn't understand. I turned back to the thing in the ground, the pulsing mass of bodies, the writhing, cursed forms. And suddenly, I knew. The Jersey Devil wasn't the curse. It was the prison. The Leeds family wasn't punished for birthing a monster. We were chosen to contain it. And now, with Roy gone, I was the last one left. The whispering grew louder. The hollow was waking up. I felt it in my blood. A pull. A choice I didn't understand, but somehow already knew. Either I let the hollow take me, I let it consume me like it did the others, or I could let the curse finish its work. I could become what I was meant to be. The Jersey Devil turned to me, its wings folding slightly, its eyes burning into mine. It didn't speak, but I felt the message all the same. Choose. I took a shaking breath, and I stepped forward. The air felt heavy, thick with something ancient. The thing rising from the hollow, that writhing, twisted mass of bodies and voices, it kept whispering, pulling at my veins, my bones, my blood. The Jersey Devil stood between me and it, wings half spread, muscles tensed. It wasn't attacking, it was guarding. And I finally understood. I wasn't meant to kill the Jersey Devil. I was meant to become it. The voices in the hollow spoke as one. Step forward. Let us take what is ours. The ground cracked beneath me, and my body felt like it was on fire. I fell to my knees, clutching my chest as a horrible tearing sensation ripped through me. My skin felt wrong, my bones shifting, my nails lengthening. I could see it, the memories of the ones before me. Roy, the Leeds before him, Deborah. I saw her, the first Jersey Devil, the one who had chosen to become the monster rather than let the hollow escape. I saw her body twisting. I saw her wings bursting from her back, heard her screaming as she left her humanity behind. And now, it was my turn. The hollow pulled at me, but the Jersey Devil let out a guttural snarl, a challenge. The meaning was clear. She's mine. The pain inside me exploded. I screamed as my fingernails split into claws, as my spine snapped and stretched, as my lungs burned with something new. My skin darkened, my muscles shifted, my mind split. I wasn't just Clara Leeds anymore. I was all of them. The hollow roared, reaching for me with its many hands, but I unfurled my wings, and I screamed. The force of my scream sent shockwaves through the forest. Trees bent backward, the hollow shuddered, and the twisted faces within it began to dissolve, screaming as if they were ripped apart. The thing in the hollow sank back into the earth, screeching as it shriveled, collapsed, and disappeared. And then, for the first time in centuries, the Pine Barrens were silent. I stood there, my body no longer human, my wings stretched out, my horns casting shadows against the trees. I flexed my claws, feeling the air shift around them. I could still think, still remember, but I knew I was different. Stronger, hungrier. I turned my red eyes toward the hollow one last time. The ground had sealed itself, but I could still feel it beneath me, waiting. It would never be gone. And as long as I lived, I could never leave. This is my fate now. The last of the Leeds. The new Jersey Devil. And Hollow's prison warden.